So the first thing with these iPads that's different from the iPads we've had before is these all have data plans, just like a cell phone would have data plans. So you can access the internet anywhere you would have cell phone access with the plan. If you look in the top right corner of the iPad up here, you'll see where it's got like the battery and Wi-Fi and data symbol. If we swipe down from there, that is where the control panel is. On previous iPads, it was probably different. It was probably swiping up from the bottom. On these newer versions, it's swiping down from the top right corner there. The important thing to notice here is this little symbol that looks kind of like an antenna with some lines coming off of it. That is the toggle switch for the wireless data connection. So when that's turned on, when it's green like it is, you can see it says Verizon right there. It's got 3 bars. When I turn it off, you can see the Verizon disappears and it no longer has the data connection. That's a way to toggle on and off the data connection. Now, the iPads can also work over Wi-Fi. You can see I got the little Wi-Fi symbol there. And whenever they are connected to a Wi-Fi network, the Wi-Fi is going to take precedence over the wireless data. So even if I turn off my wireless data right now, I'm still going to be able to access the internet and stuff because I have Wi-Fi on it. That's always going to take precedence. Part of the reason for that is A, your Wi-Fi is almost always going to be faster, but B, the wireless data plans do not have unlimited data on them. There is a data cap. It's at 2 gigs of data per month per device. Now, this is probably not something you're going to need to be monitoring or paying attention to a lot. We have on all of the iPads, you'll see this software right here, Mass 360. Basically, this is a data monitoring software that keeps track of how much data is being used on the iPad and reports it back to the office where Albert monitors it. He doesn't actively monitor it all the time. He's not going to be going in and being like, oh, how much data did Jason Plummer use today, or how much was Vinicio using this month? But what he will get is when your iPad hits 50% of the data limit, so 1 gig over the course of a month, he'll get a notification, which will be a trigger for him, not to tell you, hey, stop using your iPad, but to say, hey, what's going on? Are you using your iPad a whole lot? Is there something that maybe that you didn't know the data plan was turned on, or just a trigger point for him to question to see what's going on, and then he'll get another one at 80% to say that you're getting close to the limit. This isn't necessarily to say that we can't use the iPads as we need them, but just that we should be mindful of what we're doing with them and how we're using them, so that if you find it's the 3rd day of the month and you're getting a call from Albert that says you already hit the 50% limit, maybe something's running that you don't know is running in the background. Maybe you're doing something with it a little bit differently. I don't foresee virtually any of us hitting the data limit, at least not the 100% 2 gigs very often. We all might go over the 1 gig limit fairly frequently, or at least not rarely, but we should be. I don't think that the 2 gig is a very low limit for what we're using it for. I think it should work pretty well. With this Mass 360 software, I've got it pulled up right now, but I'm not really going to get into much details on it because all you guys really need to know is that it's going to be running in the background all the time. When you turn on your iPad, it's going to automatically start up. It's going to be in the background. Just if you happen, for example, to go into clear recently running apps, just don't clear out the Mass 360 app. If you do happen to swipe out of it, all you got to do is open it back up and then go back to your home screen and do whatever you need to do. You just know that it's there and it's running, and that's the purpose of it, is for to help the company track data, so that if we start going over the data limit a whole lot with these things, we get big charges from Verizon. So it's an effort to try to keep track of that and to try to avoid too many data overages. Now, with having the data plans, the big advantage to you guys is you don't need to be near the job trailer or wherever you have Wi-Fi on the job site to be able to access the internet and to access email, pull up drawings that aren't already saved on your iPad, all that kind of stuff. You can do it anywhere that you've got a wireless data connection. Where if you can get cell phone access, you can get wireless on here. Now, if you're like in an elevator or down in the basement of a building where you don't have cell phone access, you're not going to be able to get data on here. It's the same thing same principle as working on your cell phone. Now, with the Wi-Fi, what I would suggest is some of the bigger things that we do that use a lot of data would be if you're if you're syncing a lot of drawings all at once, which we'll get into syncing the drawings in a little bit, but if you're syncing a whole lot of files all at one time, it might use a lot of data, and it'll also go slower over the wireless connection than it would over Wi-Fi. Also, if for whatever reason you happen to be pulling up a lot of videos or something like that, I mentioned a little bit ago that we're going to have like an FBH YouTube channel with these videos on it. Shouldn't be a problem if you're watching a few of these videos, or if you're on the job site and, like, say Rob sends a video of how to install a light driver or something and you want to watch that. Shouldn't be a problem, but if you find that you're watching a whole lot of them or something, then it might cut into the data network. I would suggest, and what I do with my iPad is when I take it home, I connect it to my home Wi-Fi, and then if I have to sync, especially if there's a lot of drawings that I'm syncing or very large drawings, I'll just bring it home, plug it in, hit sync, and then just leave it and forget it until the next morning when it's time to go to work. That way I've got the drawings and everything I need synced on a frequent basis, but also I'm not using up the data plan that's on here. I'm using Wi-Fi at my house, which is unlimited. Before I get into actually going over Bluebeam and our file structure, does anyone have any questions on the data plan or the Mass 360 software or anything like that? Yep, Bob?
With this Verizon, the green button you talked about,
yep.
Should we just turn that off and turn it on when we need it?
What I would suggest is actually, I would not do that for right now. I would leave it on just so that you've always got access to it. You don't have any questions about why am I not accessing the internet, and it's there. If you find that you're getting calls from Albert a lot saying, oh, you're hitting your data limit, you're getting close to your data limit, if that's happening on a monthly basis, then it might be a good idea to just turn off the wireless data unless you need it. So, for example, some reasons why you might want to leave it on. If you're out in the field and you get an email, if the wireless data is turned off, you're not going to get that email until the next time you turn it on. It might be something, right now I'm on an 11-story building where I might be working down in my office in the garage, and somebody might be working up on the 11th floor. And if I want to get in contact with them quickly, I could send them an email, but they're not going to get that if their wireless data is turned off. Another thing we were looking into, which I have not fully figured out how we're going to implement it yet, I will let everyone know when we do, is being able to use FaceTime over this. So again, example at my job where we have an 11-story building. If I've got somebody working up on the 11th floor and they've got a question for me on something, and talking over the phone maybe isn't exactly conveying the information, I don't know what they're saying. Instead of me having to trudge 11 floors upstairs to look at one thing for them, they could pull up FaceTime on their iPad, show me a video of what's going on. If they didn't have their wireless data on, they wouldn't be able to do that. So I would suggest leaving it on all the time unless you get to a point where you're hearing from the office a lot that you're going over or getting close to the data limit. Anybody else have any questions on the data limit or the wireless connections or anything like that? Okay.